Abul Ala Maududi, the 25th of September 1903 to 22 September 1979, was an Indian-Pakistani scholar, philosopher, jurist, journalist, Islamist and imam. His numerous works were written in Urdu, but then translated into English, Arabic, Hindi, Bengali, Tamil, Burmese and many other languages. He strove not only to revive Islam as a renewer of the religion, but to propagate true Islam, a remedy for the weakness from which Islam had suffered over the centuries. He believed that politics was essential for Islam and that it was necessary to institute sharia and preserve Islamic culture from what he saw as the evils of secularism, nationalism, and women's emancipation. He was the founder of the Jamaat-E-Islami, the largest Islamic organization in Asia. He and his party are thought to have been the pioneer in politicizing Islam and generating support for an Islamic state in Pakistan. They are thought to have helped inspire General Muhammad Zia-ul-Haq to introduce Shariaization to Pakistan, and to have been greatly strengthened by him after 10,000 of members and sympathizers were given jobs in the judiciary and civil service during his administration. Maududi has had a strong influence on the Islamic extremist and jihadist groups, including Al-Qaeda and Boko Haram. He was the first recipient of the Saudi Arabian King Faisal International Award for his service to Islam in 1979. After his death, his gave Salat al-Janazah in Mecca, making him the second person in the history whose prayer was observed in the Kaaba, succeeding King Ashama ibn Abjar. Early life. Background: Maududi was born in Aurangabad, India, then part of the princely state enclave of Hyderabad, until it returned to India in 1948. He was the youngest of three sons of Maulana Ahmad Hassan, a lawyer by profession. Although his father was only middle class, he was the descendant of the Chishti line of saints. In fact, his last name was derived from the first member of the Chishti silsila, i.e. Khawaja Saeed Qut Bialdin Maudud Chishti. His father's mother was related to Islamic modernist thinker Saeed Ahmad Khan. Childhood. At an early age, Maududi was given home education. He received religious nurture at the hands of his father and from a variety of teachers employed by him. Quote, "He soon moved on to formal education, however, and completed his secondary education from Madrasa Fikriya. He joined Darul Uloom in Hyderabad for his undergraduate studies, however these were disrupted by the illness and death of his father, and he did not graduate from the Darul Uloom. His instruction included very little of the subject matter of a modern school, such as English or other European languages. He reportedly translated Kashi Mamun's The New Woman into Urdu at the age of 14, and about 3,500 pages from Asfar, a work of mystical Persian thinker Mullah Sadra. Education: Maududi was admitted to 8th class directly in Madrasa Furqaniya, Aurangabad. Meanwhile, his father shifted to Bhopal, where he suffered a severe paralysis attack and died, leaving no property or money, forcing Maududi to abort his education. Journalism. From 1924 to 1927, Maududi was the editor of Al-Jamia, the newspaper of the Jamaat-E-Islami, a position of extreme importance and influence. Always interested in independence from the British, Maududi lost faith in the Congress Party and its Muslim allies in the 1920s as the party developed an increasingly Hindu identity. He began to turn more towards Islam, and believed that democracy could be a viable option for Muslims only if the majority of Indians were Muslim. Maududi spent some time in Delhi as a young man but went back to Hyderabad in 1928. Political writings. It was from 1933 to 1941 that Maududi's most important and influential works were published. According to scholar Sayyid Vali Nasser, Nasser describes his role at the time as an ideologue rather than a journalist he was earlier, or the political activist he became after founding his party. In 1932 he joined another journal, and from 1932 to 1937 he began to develop his political ideas, and turned towards the cause of Islamic revivalism and Islam as an ideology, as opposed to what he called traditional and hereditary religion. The government of Hyderabad helped support the journal, buying 300 subscriptions which it donated to libraries around India. Maududi was alarmed by the decline of Muslim-ruled Hyderabad, the increasing secularism and lack of purdah among Muslim women in Delhi. By 1937 he became in conflict with Jamaat-E-Islami and its support for a pluralistic Indian society where the Jamaat hoped Muslims could thrive, without sacrificing their identity or interests. Quote, in that year he also married Mahmuda Begum, a woman from an old Muslim family with considerable financial resources. The family provided financial help and allowed him to devote himself to research and political action, but his wife had liberated modern ways, and at first rode a bicycle and did not observe purdah. She was given greater latitude by Maududi than were other Muslims. Political activity. At this time he also began work on establishing an organization for Dawah that would be an alternative to both the Indian National Congress and the Muslim League. At this time he decided to leave Hyderabad for northwest India, closer to the Muslim political center of gravity in India. In 1938, after meeting the famous Muslim poet Muhammad Iqbal, Maududi moved to a piece of land in the village of Pathankot in the Punjab to oversee a waqf called Darul Islam. His hope was to make it a nerve center of Islamic revival in India, an ideal religious community, providing leaders and the foundation for a genuine religious movement. He wrote to various Muslim luminaries, invited them to join him there. The community, like Jamaat-E-Islami later, was composed of Rukn, a Shura and a Sadr. After a dispute with the person who donated the land for the community over Maududi's anti-nationalist politics, Maududi quit the waqf in 1939, moved the Darul Islam with its membership from Pathankot to Lahore. In Lahore he was hired by Islamia College but was sacked after less than a year for his openly political lectures. Founding the Jamaat-E-Islami in August 1941, Maududi founded Jamaat-E-Islami in British India as a religious political movement to promote Islamic values and practices. Maududi proposed forming a Muslim state based on Islamic law and in which Islam would guide all areas of life. This state would not be theocracy, Maududi held, but a theodemocracy, because its rule would be based on the entire Muslim community, not the ulama. Initially, Maududi opposed the creation of a separate Muslim state in the subcontinent. As Jamia, he opposed the leaders of the Muslim League who sought an independent Muslim majority state. He believed that an Islamic state is a Muslim state, but a Muslim state may not be an Islamic state unless and until the constitution of the state is based on the Quran and Sunnah. After founding of Pakistan, with the partition of India in 1947, the G was split to follow the political boundaries of new countries carved out of British India. The organization headed by Maududi became known as Jamaat-E-Islami Pakistan, and the remnant of G in India as the Jamaat-E-Islami Hind. Later G parties were the Bangladesh Jamaat-E-Islami and autonomous groups in Indian Kashmir. With the founding of Pakistan, Maududi's career underwent a fundamental change, being drawn more and more into politics, and spending less time on ideological and scholarly pursuits. Although his Jamaat-E-Islami party never developed a mass following, it and Maududi did develop significant political influence. It played a prominent part in the agitation which brought down President Ayub Khan in 1969 and in the overthrow of Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in 1977. Maududi and the G were especially influential in the early years of General Zia-ul-Haq's rule. His political activity, particularly in support of the creation of an Islamic state, clashed with the government, and resulted in several arrests and periods of incarceration. The first was in 1948 when he and several other G leaders were jailed after Maududi objected to the government's clandestine sponsorship of jihad in Kashmir while professing to observe a ceasefire with India. In 1951 and again in 1956–7, the compromises involved in electoral politics led to a split in the party over what some members felt were a lowering of JI's moral standards. In 1951, the G Shura passed a resolution in support of the party withdrawing from politics, while Maududi argued for continued involvement. Maududi prevailed at an open party meeting in 1951, and several senior G leaders resigned in protest. Further strengthened Maududi's position and beginning the growth of a cult of personality around him. Quote, in 1957 Maududi again overruled the vote of the Shura to withdraw from electoral politics. In 1953, he and the G participated in a campaign against the Ahmadiyya community in Pakistan. Anti-Ahmadi groups argued that the Ahmadiyya did not embrace Muhammad as the last and greatest prophet. Maududi as well as the traditionalist ulama of Pakistan wanted Ahmadi designated as non-Muslims. Ahmadis such as Muhammad Zafar-ullah can't sacked from all high-level government positions, and intermarriage between Ahmadis and other Muslims prohibited. The campaign generated riots in Lahore, leading to the deaths of at least 200 Ahmadis, and selective declaration of martial law. Maududi was arrested by the military deployment headed by Lieutenant General Azam Khan and sentenced to death for his part in the agitation. However, the anti-Ahmadi campaign enjoyed much popular support, and strong public pressure ultimately convinced the government to release him after 2 years of imprisonment. According to Valin Asa, Maududi's unapologetic and impassive stance after being sentenced, ignoring advice to ask for clemency, had an immense effect on his supporters. It was seen as a victory of Islam over un-Islam, proof of his leadership and staunch faith. The campaign shifted the focus of national politics towards Islamicity. The 1956 constitution was adopted after accommodating many of the demands of the G. Maududi endorsed the constitution and claimed it a victory for Islam. However, following a coup by General Ayub Khan, the constitution was shelved and Maududi and his party were politically repressed. Maududi being imprisoned in 1964 and again in 1967. The G joined an opposition alliance with secular parties, compromising with doctrine to support a woman candidate for president against Khan in 1965. In the December 1970 general election, Maududi toured the country as a leader-in-waiting, and G spent considerable energy and resources fielding 151 candidates. Despite this, the party won only 4 seats in the National Assembly and 4 in the provincial assemblies. The loss led Maududi to withdraw from political activism in 1971 and return to scholarship. In 1972, he resigned as J.I.'s Amir for reasons of health. However, it was shortly thereafter that Islamism gathered steam in Pakistan in the form of the Nizam-i-Mustafa movement, an alliance of conservative political groups united against Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, which the G gave shape to and which bolstered its standing. In 1977, Maududi returned to the center stage. When Bhutto attempted to defuse tensions on April 16, 1977, he came to Maududi's house for consultations. When General Muhammad Zia-ul-Haq overthrew Bhutto and came to power in 1977, he accorded Maududi the status of a senior statesman, sought his advice, and allowed his words to adorn the front pages of the newspapers. Maududi proved receptive to Zia's overtures and supported his decision to execute Bhutto. Despite some doctrinal difference, Maududi enthusiastically supported Zia and his program of Islamization or Shariaization.